Good afternoon. Tony Arroyo for Broadcast My Talent. We're down at the Jacob Javits Comic Book Convention in New York City. And just over my shoulder, they're celebrating 75 years of DC entertainment. And we've got these displays with all these wonderful costumes throughout the ages. Imagine 75 years of telling stories. That's since World War II. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Stories that have entertained generations from 8 to 80. And hopefully they'll be doing that for years to come. We're going to go around and see if we can scare up some more interviews from some of the big up-and-coming independents. We'll see what we can turn up. Hope you stick around. Tony Arroyo, Broadcast My Talent. Hi, Tony Arroyo for BMT, and I'm here with the creators of a Western series comic book called Devil Is Due, and that's about to be a film, and I think that's pretty cool, but I'm going to let this gentleman fill you in and tell you all about it.
Great. Hi, so I'm Daryl, Freimark. I'm the producer of The Devil Is Due in Dreary. And David Parkin, the writer, brought this project to me as a screenplay, and I thought it would be great to set out as a comic book first. We spent the last couple of years developing the comic. We have 4 individual issues, and then the graphic novel version of it. The graphic novel comes out in 2 weeks, and our artists, actually, Alan Jefferson, Jonas Trindade, and Rainier Petter, are all down in Brazil. We've actually never met them. We've corresponded through a translator. And Alex Sanchez has done our cover art. Alex is actually right over there wearing a green sweatshirt. He did all 4 of our covers. And David Parkin, the writer, she just flew back to LA about 10 minutes ago, leaving just me, the film producer, here. I'm working on the film already. Dave just rewrote the screenplay, and we plan on shooting next summer in New Mexico.
Very cool. I'm going to be a pain in your neck right now because I love Westerns. Silverado, when you think of Westerns, Hollywood sometimes is, it's a Western, we don't know if we can find a market for it. What prompted you to think that a Western can not only make a nice impression as a comic book, but a film as well?
Well, this one's more of a Western thriller, and it has a Twilight Zone twist to it. I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone. I grew up watching the Twilight Zone. So when I actually read the screenplay at IFP. They have a film week every year. In 2008, 5 years ago already, I read the screenplay, and I didn't grow up loving Westerns, to be honest with you. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. And I read it, and I was so enthralled by it. The town is almost like a cult. The preacher loves his town, but they've been so fearful of this prophecy that if 2 strangers show up in town, the devil will follow at sunrise and take the souls of the people of the town. That they pretty much cut off contact to the outside world. Phone lines are down, mail hasn't gotten in and out of the town. They stopped having children. The youngest person in town is a 19-year-old girl. And the preacher loves his town, but has essentially become a cult leader. And that's what I really responded to. The Western vibe of it was kind of icing on the cake for me. And wondering whether or not this devil was going to show up, or whether this devil existed, or whether this town was just filled with crazies, was a really interesting character study for me. So once Dave and I started working on it, he was like, you got to start watching Westerns. And maybe weeks after that, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was playing at a theater in Minnesota where I happened to be visiting my girlfriend at the time. And I said, I got to go see this. Dave said, you have to see The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I'm starting my education on Westerns.
That, to me, is about as good a Western as you can make. An old Sergio Leone theme song, and it just really... You never watch it once. You always watch it again that first time, if that makes any sense to you.
Sure.
How did you acquire the funding for it?
For the books?
For the film itself.
We don't have the financing for the film yet. The financing for the books came through Kickstarter campaigns and investors, so it was a combination of both. I'm actually going into production on my 4th film next week. A week from today, I start rolling on a film. And in each film, I've gone for independent equity, met with investors, raised the money. All of my films have been made for about $1 million. This film is going to be a little bit bigger. So I'm on the fence between going out to the same investors who have supported my other films, or trying to do it on a slightly bigger level, doing it with a company that already has some financing. And I was out in LA right for San Diego Comic-Con, taking meetings with some of those companies, stoking the fires a little bit. I'm meeting with directors who have a few credits already, who've done films that are, have already gotten notice, that'll help us bring in a bigger cast, that'll help us bring in more money. So I'm kind of sampling some other ways to get this one done than just going after the private equity, which has worked, but it's always hard. I mean, you feel like you're knocking on doors.
And the reason I'd asked you how you had acquired your funding originally is because being here at this convention, you're seeing just surrounded by all this wonderful art and these talented people, and sometimes they feel like a little maybe congested that they can't produce what they want to produce because they don't have the financing for it. And we're in a time frame now where there's Kickstarter and Indiegogo and dollar in for dollar out, and I think it's just really great that there are alternatives that creative people can turn to. And just based on what you said just now, I think the future's pretty bright as far as that's concerned.
I agree with that, and one of the things that we've talked about is if we had to, and it's not, this wouldn't be a bad option, but Dave, who wrote the book, has directed a short film and would love to direct the movie. And we like the idea of having a seasoned director because he'll get better actors, he'll get more money, and that's just the reality of the situation. But if Dave were to direct this movie, it'd be great. We'd make it for less money, we'd shoot in New Mexico with a tax credit, we'd figure out ways to piece it together like I've done all 4 of my previous movies. And I'm fine with that. We just, at this point, would like to try the bigger vision. And the response we've gotten from companies that are sitting on financing is, this seems great. Yes, Westerns can be difficult, but the idea that it's a Western thriller, the idea that there's a supernatural Twilight Zone-y potential twist to it, the fact that it's not a period Western, but more of a timeless Western, almost in the No Country for Old Men sense, is something that everyone's responded to. So. And having gone through the process of raising money for 4 films, I've never gotten a response as positive as this without anybody having read the script yet. Everyone has read the comic and they get the story, but nobody's read the screenplay. So that'll be happening in a couple of months.
Is there a website people can go to check this out?
The website is thedevilisdoinDreary.com. ThedevilisdoinDreary.com.
A lot of D's.
Yes, and like us on Facebook and all that stuff.
Of course, I will want to get out of here. Thank you for your time very much. And I personally, again, I love Westerns. I'm going to be looking forward to getting involved in this. And I can't wait, really, personally, I can't wait for the film to come out. I'm going to go see it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. Tony Arroyo, BMT. Hey, Tony Arroyo for BMT. And I'm kind of honored here because I had a chance to do 2 interviews back to back that mean a lot to me. This is Mr. Heubert Khan, and he's affiliated with Dynamite Comics. Dynamite Comics, for those of you who don't know, publishes Vampirella. And as a teenage boy growing up, that was a character I loved a lot. So, Mr. Khan, tell us how you got involved with the book and where you think you're going to be taking the character.
Actually, I started working on Vampirella way back 2010. So I was working on another book for Dynamite, and then suddenly there was a need for them to get another artist for Vampirella, since I don't know what happened with the previous artist. And then when I drew the entire issue as a fill-in artist, they loved it, and then I was promoted to being the series regular. So that was it. I grew up loving Vampirella as well. Like you said, as an adolescent teenager, I used to draw Vampirella at the back of my notebooks, much to the dismay of my teacher, telling me, "What kind of artwork is this? You're drawing women with fangs and in swimsuits." I was like, "These are from comic books," so yeah.
She was like the average teenage boy fantasy vampire. Now do you go back like I do, back to the old black and white magazines when they used to come out?
Actually, I got into the colored ones, but since I started collecting Vampirella comics back in the 90s, I went back to hunting those black and whites. You can never go wrong with artworks by the great Jose Gonzalez. Yeah, those are the classics. Those are timeless masterpieces. So yeah, I have those in my collection as well. And it helps being the current artist. It helps having those in my bookshelf. Yeah.
Are they toying with any animated versions of Vampirella? Because I think the character, beyond the sexy costume, which is why I think most guys get into the character, are they coming up with any animated versions of the character?
None that I know of, but I hope so. I just saw one statuette being offered by Sideshow, and it is designed by an animator, and it was done beautifully. It's like an animated Vampirella. The way it's drawn similar to how Bruce Timm drew Harley Quinn. So I was like, wow, I never thought that Vampy could actually look so sexy still, even if it's done animated way. So I was like, maybe it would work if they would come up with a series like that. So yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Thank you for a few minutes of your time. I'm going to let you get back to your work. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Khan. Tony Arroyo, BMT. Well, we're about to wrap things up here at the Jacob Javits Convention in New York City. We had a blast as always. Got a chance to meet a few very, very talented people. And found out some interesting stuff from some up-and-coming independents who we'll be following very closely. Thank you for tagging along. I'm Tony Arroyo for BMT. Have a good day.